Hello everyone. Some of the questions I get asked all the time are, am I responsible for a deceased person's debt? Do I have to pay mom's final medical bills if she passed in the hospital, let's say? Or do I have to pay dad's credit card debt? If he passed and he has lots of money owed on his credit cards. Do I have to pay grandpa's IRS debt? For whatever reason, he stopped paying taxes and now he passed, and do I have to pay that? Do I have to pay grandma's mortgage? My uncle owed some money to his friend. Do I have to pay that? So basically, who is responsible for a deceased person's debt? So I'm going to do a series of videos, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch all of them. And today I'm going to start with a mortgage. What happens to the mortgage on a home, on a piece of property when the owner dies? So let's say grandpa dies and he has a home and he has a mortgage on it. What happens to that mortgage? Who has to pay it? Well, it depends on what happens to the house, because the mortgage stays with the house. It's a lien on the house. It stays with the house. So let's say grandpa is married and grandma is also on the mortgage. As long as she affords to make the payments, then nothing really happens. She makes the payments, and of course it depends on the type of the mortgage, on what the mortgage document says, but that's how it usually happens. If one spouse dies, the other one, as long as they can afford to make the payments and they are on the mortgage, nothing happens there. Again, it can get more complicated if grandma is not on the mortgage and she cannot afford to make those payments, but that's for another video. Let's keep it simple for today. Let's say grandpa was not married and there's a mortgage on the house. Who is responsible to make those mortgage payments? What happens to that mortgage? Well, it depends again what happens with the house. If grandpa had an estate plan in place, let's say he had a trust, the trust will be responsible to make those payments until the house is either sold or distributed. It depends what it says on the trust documents. If the house is sold, the trust will make payments until the house is sold. At that time, the title company will pay off the mortgage and the trust will get the difference from the sale. I think that makes sense. If the house is to be distributed to son number one, let's say, the trust will make payments until the house is distributed to son number one. At that time, son number one will have some options. Or maybe the trust says, hey, pay it off and then give it to him. That would be great. But if the trust doesn't say that, the son number one will either have to get with the mortgage company and maybe assume the loan with the same terms and conditions if he qualifies. He may refinance, get his own mortgage company, or if he has the cash, he can just pay it off, take the lien off the house, and then he owns the house outright. So that's what happens with the mortgage company, with the lien on the house. What happens to the house? It's what happens, where the mortgage goes. If, let's say, grandpa didn't have a trust and the house has to be probated, as we know, real property, if there's no estate plan in place, has to be probated. Watch our other educational videos on this topic. But if a probate is initiated, the estate will pay again the mortgage until the house is either sold through the probate process or distributed at the end of the probate process. If the house is sold in the probate process, the same thing as with the trust. The title company will pay off the mortgage first, will keep the lien on the house to pay it off, and then the estate gets the difference between the sale price and the mortgage. Or if the house is to be distributed at the end of the probate to one of the heirs, daughter one, the same thing. She'll have to make arrangements to either transfer the mortgage on her name or pay it off, or all the other options that we talked about. I hope this video helped. It's so much to talk about. It depends on so many things, but this is just to get you started, just to get you thinking about it. Maybe reach out to the mortgage company. Just make sure that before you make any decision, before you start paying someone else's debt, you make sure that you have to pay it and that you will be reimbursed, or maybe that that's the best decision to make for you and for the estate, because sometimes it's not. Again, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because there will be other episodes coming on the other type of debt, and email me if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.